Hey, good afternoon to all of you. A very quick introduction. I am Mikin Lala. I am one of the co-founders of a company called LogIQids. The idea behind this company is we work with school kids from senior KG, kindergarten to class 9 to develop their logical reasoning and analytical thinking skills. By way of background, I am an IIT Roorkee and I am Calcutta alumnus. Worked as an investment banker for 10 years. I was a director at Bank of America, advising companies on M&As, IPOs. Before I decided to go back into education because that's always has been my passion. And with another colleague of mine from Bank of America, Sumit, I started this company. The idea behind this company, as I said, is to develop logical reasoning, analytical thinking skills for kids. I mean, since morning we have had sessions where, we have talked about the fact that education would not be the same. The world is changing at a very fast pace. The jobs are changing. Education needs to be different. We have also talked about how education itself is evolving. In terms of various programs, I think just before me there was a presentation on how augmented reality can make an impact. However, what I feel is that amidst all of this, one component which is often overlooked is logical reasoning. I mean, it's such an important thing. Like if I have to recruit somebody for my company, or even when I was at Bank of America, I would not recruit somebody without taking an aptitude test. Okay, if I was appear for an entrance exam, every entrance exam, be it for designing, NIFT, or law, or MBA. Everything has an aptitude portion built in. So, if there's something which is so critical, why do we not really start kids on at an early age? Of course, besides that, a very important piece which is often overlooked is that, the more you expose kids to puzzles and brain teasers, the more you expose kids to, a kind of gradually increasing difficulty level of puzzles, it helps them develop their thinking skills. There's enough research which has been conducted across various universities which shows that it is important for a child or even for an adult to continue to exercise their brain. And what is also important is when you do that, the level of questions needs to be gradually increased and the difficulty level needs to be such that your brain is challenged at each point of time. So this is essentially what we do. I'm sorry. So this is essentially what we do. I would not get into all of this. We just kind of talked about it. That logic and aptitude can be developed at the right age. Of course, we believe that exposing kids right from kindergarten is the right age because in India we all start preparing for it when we start preparing for entrance exam. By then your brain is more or less tuned up. So, why not start at the right age? And if you go to other boards like, you will see internationally, there are schools who are doing this. Internationally as in out of India, where schools are actually doing this right from kindergarten. I'll skip this. So, this is what we do, I've explained it to you now. How do we do that? So, we have two offerings out here. One is worksheets. So, it's a program which is driven through an app or a website-based interface where a child can do worksheets on logical reasoning. These are online worksheets, but if required, can be downloaded by the parent. The reason these are online and we don't provide hard copies is because, as I said, these are adaptive worksheets. So let's say if there are like 20 kids in a class or 40 kids in a class, each one of them gets a different worksheet depending on how they have been performing. The core idea being, give questions which are appropriate, neither too easy, neither too tough, and then gradually raise the bar. The other offering is an Olympiad, kind of an offline exam. Of course, I know all the schools are aware of what Olympiads are. So as a company, as a parent, as somebody who is very passionate about education, I do not believe in burdening additional assessments on kids. But what we realize is our products are also free of cost for schools. Okay. Yeah, so I'll just explain the entire concept. And, unfortunately, anything which is free is sometimes not really valued. And it's a do-at-home exercise as well. So, often we see the kids don't really go through these worksheets. Teachers are already burdened. You cannot burden them with additional, work of monitoring who is really solving these worksheets and who is not. So as a result, we introduced an exam. The company was started as a worksheets-only company, but an exam was introduced later on, with a view that at least with the exams, the kids end up solving those worksheets. The focus continues to be on development rather than just assessment. So we basically have two things which we give out to partner schools. We basically give out about 25 such worksheets. We give out 5 topic notes. So these topic notes, so as I said, there is an approach to develop these kind of problems, to solve them. And there's an approach which can be developed over a period of time. So that is what we explain through the topic notes, where the child is explained, okay, these are the kind of questions, this is how we approach, this is how you start building your thinking process. Along with that, we give out the Olympiad. So 25 worksheets, 5 topic notes, the Olympiad. First stage of the Olympiad, completely free of cost. There is a second stage of the Olympiad, which is the final stage, where about 40% of the kids who have gone through the first stage qualify. That is the only optional and chargeable piece at 450 rupees. All of this is disclosed to parents upfront. The second thing is clearly optional. Okay, it is not something which is mandatory that every kid who has qualified has to enroll. This is just to cover a part of the cost. We are supported by a group of investors, headed by the Tata Group CFO, which allows us to roll out these products completely free of cost. Now, one thing which, before we get into more details, the reason I want to talk about this is, so as a child, I was somebody who almost kind of failed my maths exam in grade 7. Okay, to somebody who went on and scored, more than 99.9 percentile in CAT and cleared IIT. I was also a guy who used to stammer a lot. I was rejected in my first attempt with all the IIM interviews. I had calls from BC, L and K. I was rejected saying, boss, you stammer so much, how are you going to cope up with the placement pressure? So what I've learned throughout, and one reason why I get back to education is, it is wrong to kind of brand a child. It is also wrong to burden them with a lot of expectations and pressures. If you tune them, if you expose them to the right set of stuff, they will learn and they will develop. Like in my life, I believe these kind of questions have played a huge role. From somebody who really kind of almost failed the maths exam, I scored something like 42 in class 7 out of 100 in maths. To, somebody who kind of got through this, I of course kind of attribute all of this to one teacher who was my primary school maths teacher who worked with me to kind of, get that confidence going in me. But the bottom line is, and this is a personal opinion, it is not right to burden a child right from grade 6, grade 7, grade 8, saying, please prepare for JEE. What I believe is expose them to these kind of things which will help them develop their thinking style. At the end of the day, JEE or IIT doesn't ask you anything beyond what is covered in the concepts. Just that one question at times involves multiple concepts, and a child really needs to understand how do you break down that problem, how do you look at that problem probably from a different perspective. So that's the essence of what we do. I'll just quickly take you through some of the problems so that you get a better idea of what we do. Like this is a problem for senior KG kids, senior KG grade 1. None of our questions cover any academic concepts. So this at lower grades, because they can't read much, we focus more on their visual skills. So here we give them 4 options and we say which of the options has the letter N hidden in it. Okay, essentially, making them think, making them visualize. So I think, I know we are running short of time. I'll just tell you. This is the letter N here. So the idea is that, okay, that you kind of reinforce the academic concept while at the same time making the child visualize things, making the child go through stuff. This is another problem from class 5, which is on multiple instructions. The idea behind, bombard the child with a lot of data, a lot of instructions. Let him learn how to process that in a systematic way, how to break down a problem one step at a time and solve it. Okay, this is class 7, 8, 9. This is one of my favorite problems. So this is how the level will increase. Now this is a tic-tac-toe board. Okay, all of us I think would have played tic-tac-toe at some point in time. You could have crosses and S. You're given a board. You have to assume that the players are rational. So that means if I am getting 3 in a row anywhere, I will go for that first. If I'm not able to do that, if my opponent is getting 3 in a row, I'll block that. If not, then I will play any other move which I think is right. So if this is the board laid out, can you tell me who is going to win this game? Sorry? Yeah, but who is going to mark the centerpiece? It can be logically derived from this. You can actually solve this to figure out what was the last move. Who played the last move? No, the players are, these are just the grid. I've just labeled the grid. There are 2 players, cross and circle. Circle will win. And why do you feel so? No, so there is a logical explanation to who can win. Circle, okay, you say cross. Anyone else wants to take an attempt as, okay, if you say circle or cross, can you tell me which was the last move? This, you can just mark it like this is 1A, this is 2A. C3. Anyone else? A2. Okay. Okay, let's analyze some of these moves. So let's say if supposingly A2 was the last move and if you were playing that game, so the board looks something like this, right? Where would you place that circle? B2, right? So that means this could not have been the last move, because if that was the last move, it would have been played here. Right, so this is how logical you can actually deduce, and you are right. This is the last move, because if this is not there, the cross has two options to move. There is no place where the cross can make 3 in a line, but the circle is making 3 in a line either here or here. So this was actually the last move. So since cross played the last move, the circle is going to win. So as you see, I mean, there are logical explanations to everything what you do, and you can actually derive it. I mean, we have a lot of such examples where you can figure out, like once I played a game with my son, you know, you have that towers and rings, you have those poles where you put in rings. You can actually make a very interesting game out of that called Tower of Hanoi, right? It's an awesome game which can actually test you logically very well. So this is what we do. I'll not take much, I'll not get into data. These are all done in controlled situations. The data could be different if I look at different data set, but what I can assure you is that this definitely helps improve the thinking skills for kids. We have enough feedback on that. That is anecdotal feedback. We do carry out studies as well. But I will always look at any research with some iota of doubt, because it depends on what data set I look at. There's enough testimonials. Current reach, we are about 3 years old. We currently work with 450 plus schools in 45 plus cities. Some of the names with which we work. Yeah, that's it. I'll just stop here and take any questions which you guys may have. Thank you.
I just have a very quick question. Basically, you're not the only one. There are a lot of other organizations which have done this before. I can name one of them, that's Asset, which also does a similar thing. Now, the point is, yes, they test it. They test a child, and then you can understand that you're not so clever and you're a bit dumb or whatever, you're very intelligent. After that?
Okay, so one thing is, ma'am, Asset does this using academic stuff. So Asset is more focused on academic concepts and using leverage. Yes, so they have this as part of one of the subject. But if you see their the detailed assessment which they do, that is also focused more on acads. Second is, here what we do is, this is completely personalized to the child. So the focus is completely on development and not really assessment. I said that we do an assessment with a view to, so after the first level exam, which is conducted free of cost, we give out a detailed report card to the school and a detailed report card to the child as well. And this thing continues year after year. The way the program is structured is, even if the child continues to give just the first stage exam year after year, which is a free exam, and doesn't even participate in the second stage, you would see a remarkable improvement in the child over the course of 3 to 4 years. And you would see that. I mean, see, so again, we can do a research and show it to you. We have done some of these data points with a few schools. But what is clearly, I mean, the best measure to see this is just compare the kind of questions which the child was doing, let's say, a year back, and the kind of questions the child is able to do now.
That's not my question at all. My question is, having done whatever you are doing, it's a wonderful system. But then, what is the child going to gain at the end of it?
The child is going to develop his thinking skills no matter where he is.
You have to keep on testing and testing himself till he develops, right? But in the school, it's completely contrary to this developmental thinking. The textbooks are not thinking, the teachers are not thinking, and the portions and whatever they're studying is not based on thinking
Correct.
at all.
Completely
So
agree.
Is there a contradiction, number one? And number two part is, why do you keep the name as Olympiads? Again,
Okay.
you know, competitions.
So thank you for that.
Competitions.
Sure. So thank you for that feedback. We have changed the name from this year. So when we approach...
They push their kids into do another exam and it's going to show how good you are.
Sure, I completely agree on the name. So this year when we approach you, you will see the name is different. We don't use the Olympiad anymore. Okay, just that because the second stage of Olympiad is going on, we have not publicly disclosed it that the name is changed because I completely, I am a parent who don't want my child to sit for any assessments. So I completely agree on that. Ma'am, on the second part, it is not about, so the fact that this is not covered as part of the academic curriculum is the reason why we want kids to do it, because this is an important skill set. So if it's not covered in the academic curriculum, it's not that you can just let it be,
So
right?
I'm trying to tell the schools that, look, you don't have skill sets, now we are going to teach the kids.
No, I'm not saying that.
Precisely, you're saying it another way.
I'm saying it is not covered in the curriculum. I'm not saying schools don't have.
Why shouldn't you make an attempt so that it gets covered in the curriculum and the teacher
Uh,
becomes a better person to give these things?
So I would do that, but unfortunately, ma'am, that process is very long, and we with a small team who are trying to kind of create an impact, it is very challenging. We have tried doing that. That is the only reason.
It's just a food for thought.
No, sure. So we are talking to a few.
Go one step further by doing some SWOT analysis for the teacher to understand what my class composition is.
Absolutely.
And then teach with all the gaps that the teacher can fill.
I agree. Completely agree. So, no, I completely agree. We have attempted that in the past, but it was taking too long because of the way, because it impacts a huge teaching process, which is not so easy to implement. So we started with, so that is when we pivoted to kind of approach it this way. And then gradually now, like there are a couple of schools with whom we are experimenting this to see how we could incorporate this as part of the curriculum.